Hello everyone and welcome to the next episode of Outside of Life, where I chat with inspiring artists and create various art-related videos. My name is Eva and my guest today is Francis Boncales, and in this episode you will learn about how to network with artists you admire and why it's important to work hard every day.
And I usually try to make time to do personal work. I'll put on a YouTube video of like a podcast of artists, like inspiring podcasts to kind of get the flow going. So I'll try to do something where I'm learning every day because I'm still trying to reach my goals and I feel like I need to just work hard every single day.
Francis is a concept artist, illustrator, and visual development artist, currently working as a background painter in Warner Brothers Animation. Besides Warner Brothers, he has worked for many studios including Hasbro Studios, Mrs. Wordsmith, Duncan Studio, among others. In his free time, he's currently working on his own project called Summer of 1962. So please welcome Francis Boncales and let's get to the interview. So, welcome everyone to the next episode of Outside of Life, and I'm super happy to have Francis here. Hi!
Hello!
I'm super happy to have you and that you took time join us here and share your artistic journey. And let's just jump in directly to your background and maybe you can share how you got where you are now and when you first realized like, okay, I want to do art professionally.
Oh, well, before I start, thank you for having me as a guest. You know, I'm really honored. I love listening to your YouTube show while I'm working. I currently work at Warner Brothers Animation, so working on Green Eggs and Ham as a background painter. So when I work, I usually listen to a lot of podcasts, and this is one of them.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah, it's very inspirational. But to answer your question to, I guess, the beginning of my journey, try to keep it short. It took me a long time to get to where I am. And when I, just like any other artist, I started drawing at a very young age, but there was a period where I stopped drawing because I got distracted by other things.
So what did you do meanwhile there when you were not drawing?
I'll play around, like go outside and skateboard or play music.
So what made you to go back to drawing, when you are like hanging out and doing sports and skateboarding? Because I was doing the same for a really long time. And then kind of I decided like, oh, actually I miss art. Was it the same in your case?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, when I used to draw, like my mom would help me kind of like draw outlines of like characters that I like Power Rangers or the Lion King characters. And then I would just fill in the drawing with crayons.
Oh, that's perfect.
My mom just kind of like helped nurture that artistic passion in me. Yeah. But, becoming a teenager, I kind of like just stopped drawing because I didn't think it was cool enough.
Yeah, that's not cool.
I pick up the guitar and play music. All I cared about was playing guitar, being in a rock band or skateboarding and just messing around. Like I didn't really care too much about school. And it wasn't until about my junior year of high school that I realized that I need to get my act together because I was doing a lot of stupid stuff and I needed to get my act together and I needed to figure out, all right, well, I need to figure out a career because a lot of people, the way people saw me was like, oh, this guy who, was just messing around, didn't really care much about anything, had really bad grades. And there was a point where I felt like I needed to prove myself, not to only myself, but to other people. And, I wanted to make my parents proud as well. So I discovered my passion for art again. And it was at the time my girlfriend took me to an art gallery in downtown Dallas because I was living in Dallas at the time. And she knew I had interest in art and she wanted to go do something on the weekend. So we decided to go, all right, let's go to an art gallery. And I thought it'd be fun. So we go to the art gallery and I was completely blown away by the artwork. I had no expectations of what to look at, But when I got there,
remember what was it?
It was kind of like graffiti art on wood panels and stuff. It was really cool. And it had like some realistic painting as well. So it combined like traditional, like portrait painting, but with like graffiti art in it. And I thought it was really inspirational. And that really sparked my passion for art again. And I wanted to explore the avenue of like, all right, let me try doing graffiti art, kind of, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do yet for art, but I was thinking of like illustration, animation, graphic design, and it took a while to kind of find that love for animation again. And it wasn't until I guess one day I was hanging out with my friend, and we were just hanging out at his apartment, and he wanted me to watch a movie that he recommended, and it was Spirited Away by Miyazaki, and that was so inspirational, and I really, really loved it. And so that got me back into like, all right, maybe I could be an animator.
Yeah. So how did you decide what you want to do actually from like all art avenues, right? Like the animation or game art, or because now you work with backgrounds, right? And so all of the directions, like who helped you decide? Did you have a mentor or someone who kind of inspired you like, okay, I want to be like that person in the future?
Well, actually, so my art teachers from high school, one of them was a plein air painter. And so he really inspired me to kind of like paint. And I didn't have any direction, so they kind of helped me hone in trying to find my passion for, I guess, like for animation. And I guess one day I was looking at brochures for college, and I saw a brochure for Rhode Island School of Design. And I noticed that all these artists that went to that school and like all the artwork, and it was really amazing. Like, wow, this is cool animation art. And one of the artists that I really admire was Seth MacFarlane of Family Guy at the time, and The Last Airbender, the creators of The Last Airbender. And so they went to that school, and they kind of inspired me to like, oh, maybe I could do that. Yeah. And so that really was one of the things that helped me figure out like, okay, maybe I can study animation. But going back, I know I'm kind of going all over the place.
Oh, no, it's a great story because it's always really interesting to see how people decide or how they find their journey, because, like it's, some people know already, like at the beginning, like, okay, I want to be this like in 10 years, like a set goal. But if you like more things, it's always hard to decide actually, like, okay, this is it.
Yeah, actually between the time that I was trying to figure out if I should pursue art or something else, I was actually thinking of going into jazz school for music. I was studying classical guitar, after school, and my teacher, my guitar teacher, went to music school, and so he kind of gave me some advice on what I should pursue, and so I almost considered becoming a musician. Yeah. But I figured that it was a difficult avenue to make money out of, and I figured that being an artist would be much easier, which is not easy at all. It's just as difficult as being a musician. But I decided to just go into art. But the thing is, that was in my junior year when I was figuring that out. And then my senior year, I was trying to get my grades up because my grades were really bad. Because like I mentioned before, I didn't take school seriously until my junior year. Yeah. And I ended up graduating high school with a 2.0, which is terrible. It's a terrible GPA. But that was because I did so bad for the first 2 years of high school that when I tried to bring it back up, it went, the best I could do was 2.0 instead of out of, I guess, 4.0.
So 4 is the best you can have? I'm sorry, 4. I'm not sure how is it in US. So
I'm sorry. Yeah, 4.0 is like, I guess the best GPA, but my GPA was really terrible and my grades were bad. So applying to colleges would have been difficult for me. I wouldn't have been able to go to the school I wanted to, which is Rhode Island School of Design, which I didn't realize at the time was a very prestigious art school. I just saw the brochure and I really liked it. And I'm like, hey, maybe I can go there. And so after high school, I ended up going to community college for a year. And I did my best to like bring my grades up and then reapply for college again.
Okay.
And then yeah, so day in, like every day, I would just work really hard on getting my grades up in math, history, all the general education on top of trying to be a better artist. And yeah, I remember taking my first life drawing class in community college and had no idea what it was. And I walk in and it was just seeing this naked person up on stage and laughing to myself like, oh my gosh, we get to draw naked people. So I was very naive as an artist. I didn't know that's what you did. But anyways, so I worked really hard all year and then reapplied for Rhode Island School of Design. And that was the only school I applied to because that was just my goal.
Yeah.
And I eventually got in, so I transferred over. And it was a difficult transition because, it was in a new area where I'd never been in Rhode Island, and I was away from home, and I felt like I was cheating the system. Like I didn't think I was a good artist, but I somehow got in, and I even got a scholarship to go to school because if it wasn't for the scholarship, I wouldn't have been able to go to college at all. But yeah, I was very grateful, but yeah. I felt like an underdog and I still feel like an underdog now, but just trying to catch up to all the other artists in school who knew what they wanted to do at a very young age. And here comes me just like, all right, yeah, I want to be an artist, a very short-lived dream of mine. Because, like junior year, where I met other people who were making comics at like 13 years old.
Yeah. That can be intimidating, that's true. Yeah. Because yeah.
Go ahead.
No, it was just I wanted to mention as well, like it's really hard to do the motivation, right? If you are not sure if you did the right choice. Have you ever felt like that as well? Like, is it the right path for me, or you were just, your heart was set on art?
I mean, in the beginning, I didn't think, there was a lot of doubts, definitely. I always thought about maybe I should pursue something else. Maybe I made the wrong decision, because I just really struggled to become a better artist. And because everyone around me was really good, but I think that helped me get a lot better. And even after college, I struggled then too. And it took me my first jobs, like right now it's since I'm a background painter, I've been in the animation industry for about 2 years now. And it's been my goal to go into animation, but beforehand I actually had to. It took me a long way to get to where I am. So like, it took me about four years to get into animation.
Wow!
Because I graduated in 2012.
So
from the RISD.
So what was the first job you got, and kind of if you can mention for our audience, like what were kind of maybe the type of jobs you did? You did some game art, right? And illustration. So there were like different stages, right?
Yeah, definitely. So when I graduated school, I wasn't prepared to get into animation, but I was lucky enough to get work. Actually, my last year of college, I was interning for a game company called 38 Studios. I was a environment texture artist, so I was just painting the textures for the environments for the 3D models, and that's what got me into kind of like learning about the industry of games, and just working professionally. And I learned a lot from that job. And so that helped me get a lot of connections afterwards. So after college, I moved to LA to try to find work in animation, couldn't find work, and ended up doing like freelance jobs on like monster.com or Indeed. And luckily, I was able to network with people on LinkedIn, and I found this one person who was an entrepreneur in San Francisco, and I just emailed him. It's like, hey, I saw your profile. I noticed that you work on games, and I was wondering if you have any job openings available. And so he gave me a job basically. And so I was freelancing on like a mobile app to teach English for kids. So I was making like UI, UX design, which I've never done before. But this guy gave me a shot, and I ended up moving to San Francisco because that's where he was located. I ended up moving to San Francisco to work with him, and he actually had an apartment, and he was working out of his apartment, so it was just maybe 4 or 5 employees, so we all just worked there. And I was there for a month before he decided that he wanted to move the company to New York City.
Oh wow!
And I just moved there, and I was only there for like 3 or 4 weeks, and before he decided that, and I mentioned, well, I just moved to San Francisco. I did not expect you guys to leave, so I had to decide whether or not I should take that job or something else. And around that time, like I mentioned before, the job that I interned for, one of my art director moved on to a different company called High Five Games in New York City. And he reached out to me asking if I was available for work. And he was looking for a production artist, which is basically production assistant, but having artistic assignments as well. So I had to choose between 2 jobs. And so I ended up taking High Five Games. And I figured, when I first heard about it, I'm like, oh, High Five Games, it must be, like a video game for consoles like PlayStation or Xbox.
Yeah.
And then I found out later that it was for casino games.
It's a bit different, yeah.
Yeah, and actually, I was actually turned off by it, thinking, I don't know, like I really want to go into animation, but I feel like this job might steer me away from that. Like it might be, I don't know. I just second guessed it, but I had no other options. No one was offering me jobs, so that I really thought was good. So, and that was the best option. So I ended up taking that, and I moved to New York City. And I was only initially wanted to be there for a year, and then moved back to LA to pursue animation again. But what ended up being 1 year ended up being almost 4 years.
Oh wow!
So I was there in New York City for 4 years, and it was a great job. But I really just wanted to work in animation. But I worked with a great group of people, and I learned a lot from them. And after work, I would work on my portfolio for animation and take schoolism classes and ask different artists for advice. And one of them is actually John Navarez, who was very helpful in tailoring my portfolio, and Pascal Campion. And so I would just reach out to artists that were working in animation, like, hey, can you look at my portfolio? I was hoping, just for asking for advice, and, any feedback would be very helpful. And so within 4 years, I was able to.
So you just send the email to John and Pascal and like other artists as well, maybe, and you ask them for feedback. So you just like plainly send them email like, oh, could you?
Yeah, I would send them like emails or Facebook messages. I would actually I wouldn't just ask them for advice. I would just start talking to them, saying like, oh yeah, I really love your art. It's very inspirational. I saw your interview with Schoolism or like Chris Oatley or something, and I would just say, I would try to have a conversation first as a human.
Yeah.
And then
that makes sense.
in some way, I would lead to a question like, hey, I was wondering if you'd be available for a critique. I would love feedback and trying to make my work better. And so,
oh, definitely, yeah. So because that helps. And as you mentioned, the networking. So you comment or like discuss stuff on social media, and then you also mentioned that you did a bit through LinkedIn. Is there somehow else how you do the networking as well? Like when you were like looking for different opportunities or jobs?
Oh yeah, definitely. When I was so I would go to New York Comic Con or San Diego Comic Con and CTN, and I would make business cards and resumes and show my portfolio around. And, I would connect with the artists that were boothing. And then later on, I would message them on Facebook or Instagram or find their profiles and just mention, oh, hey, it was great meeting you. I would love to keep in touch, and then just constantly comment on their work and build a relationship first before like asking for any help,
Yeah.
And so, yes, Instagram and Facebook were very, very helpful, and LinkedIn as well. And just, when you're waiting in line at CTN, for portfolio reviews or just walking around, you meet other artists as well. So just don't just look. I didn't just look at try to connect with famous people. I guess I would try to connect with whoever.
Yeah.
If I was walking by and I saw someone, hey, how's it going? And you never knew where that would lead. And I've had many opportunities where meeting just random people helped me get jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because people are sometimes, like asking, like, okay, so how do I do networking if someone is also shy? But if you have options to do like something on social media and go for events, and if you are stuck in a queue, then it's also easier to talk to people because you are there for some time.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah. It's great. I love talking to people. I'm a very social person, so it helps to. It's nice. It's nice.
Yeah,
I like it.
And so, how did you get where you are now? And just like, did you apply or did you join their internship program before? And or how did you kind of end up now where you are?
Okay. Well. Okay. So when I was working, I'm sorry. I'm probably giving you a long story.
No,
but I feel
good.
like every part is important. So when I was working at High Five Games, I felt like I was taking such a long time to get to my career goal. Every year would go by and I would realize, do I still want to pursue art or animation? Mm-hmm. And so eventually, after almost 4 years, I decided to quit my job at High Five Games and just move to LA with no job prospects.
Okay.
So I just left everything and just started a new life in LA. And I just got here and I got an apartment and everything. I got settled in, but I had no jobs. But I was able to. I would go to events, and from there I would get freelance jobs. And so I was freelancing for a long time before I actually got my first full-time job. So my first job was actually at a company in London. So I was doing freelance work, and then after that I got freelance through Warner Brothers. So they gave me freelance work on a show called Justice League Action as a background designer. And from there, it kind of led me to, it opened a big door for me. So from there, I got a job as a background designer at Hasbro Studios on Stretch Armstrong, which is on Netflix now. Yeah. And from there, I would just, I think my contract was ending at Hasbro, and I decided to email or message Pascal. I was messaging a bunch of people, but I messaged Pascal, was one of them, and Pascal Campion, and I asked him if there was any job openings at Warner Brothers because I knew that he was working there, and he mentioned that there was an opening for a background painter at Green Eggs and Ham, and so I tested for that. And long story short, I got the job, and I've been there since June.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So it's still quite fresh.
Oh yeah, definitely. And this is my first background painting job, but and which I'm very, very happy. Background design is really fun as well, but I'm definitely more of a painter.
Yeah. And so do you have like favorite like brushes, because you usually work digitally, right? And
yes, I do.
So do you have like specific set of brushes for different styles? Because you have some pieces, what I saw, like painterly, some are a bit more polished, right? Well, of course, it depends what client wants. But so do you create your own, or do you kind of combine from your colleagues or friends, or?
I mean, if you look at my brush set, I've collected so many brushes from so many artists throughout the years that I don't even know. Like I kind of just look through my brush set and I just choose whatever I think looks interesting, whether it be like a scatter brush or like a brush that has like hue variation on it. Like it really depends what I'm feeling at the time. I kind of just choose things randomly. I mean, maybe I don't really know. It's kind of a hard question to answer.
Yeah, because I really like your textures and brushes. That's why it's like also kind of question for me. So I was
thank you. Yeah, I mean,
like...
I use a lot of like photo textures of like oil paint or gouache or watercolor. and I'll sort of integrate it into my painting somehow, and I'd paint over it, and then just like it's like collaging with just different textures.
And
So
the color and light, because it's really beautiful how you use color and light. Can you maybe recommend some books or courses, or how did you study, and what maybe our audience can check out?
oh, thank you for the compliment. Actually, yeah, I really love looking at the Color and Light book. I'm actually looking at it right now. Color and Light from James Gurney. I love that book, and I also have taken online schoolism classes with Nathan Fowkes, Color and Light class, which helped me a lot, as well as Daisutsumi and Robert Kondo, their Color and Light class. So those classes are amazing. And also going out and plein air painting as well helped me a ton. I'm going out with friends every, as much as I can, and just doing studies from life.
Oh, okay. So when you do studies from life, is it digitally on like iPad, or do you do it like oils or watercolors or pencils, or pencils not for color probably, but
I usually use gouache or watercolor, but I also do digital plein air as well. I actually, when I first started doing plein air painting, I started digitally, but I felt that learning traditional would help me a lot more, because you can't really get rid of mistakes that easily as you could with digital painting. There's no Control Z. So I really learned a lot from just working on paper. So that really helped me a lot with my current project that you're looking at, or people are seeing right now. I actually started that project about 6 months ago when I started Green Eggs and Ham.
Oh, wow.
And I learned a lot from my job as well. So learning from the team and Pascal mentoring me, helping me push the light.
Oh, yeah. So can you maybe share like a best advice you ever received, along your artistic journey, or it can be more?
Oh, man, I've gotten so many great advice. I think the best thing that I've been thinking about a lot more is just focusing on foundation and just trying to simplify, because I tend to overcomplicate things sometimes, but I have to remind myself to just simplify first and then slowly build up, and just working on your foundations, because you can't, it's just like, it's the basics. And I feel like I would try to, there was a point in my artistic career where I'd try to hop over the fundamentals to just learning, like, I just want to paint, I just want to learn, I just want to paint digitally without learning like the fundamentals of like oil painting or gouache or drawing, and the fundamentals of lighting without, So does that answer your question?
Yes, definitely. So yeah, it's good to practice also outside, right? As you mentioned, like actually seeing the real light. So not only from pictures. And so did you do the classes first and then you did the live studies, or did you kind of combine them at the same time?
I definitely combined them at the same time. Well, actually, when I first started taking schoolism classes, I would just do the assignments, and it wasn't until after that I just continued, because some parts of the assignments is to study from life. And then I just continued that after taking the classes, because I found it really interesting and fun, just to go out and paint, because, just being locked into your room, just painting on the computer all day, I don't know, it kind of just drains me. And I love being outside, kind of like experiencing the environment, because I think it adds on to another layer to your work.
Yeah. And do you have like a favorite, you said gouache, right? And so like favorite brand maybe, or do you just combine different ones, or like?
I combine different ones. Right now I'm using Holbein and Winsor and Newton.
And then you work from the basic colors, or do you actually have like different shades, which are kind of your favorite tones of colors?
I usually use the basic, like, yellow, blue, red, and just like earth colors, like the basic palette of I guess a plein air painting kit. And I would have like a warm and cool of each color. So I have like a warm yellow and a cool yellow, a warm blue and cool blue. And then, so I'd have a bunch of different colors on my palette, and that helps me figure out, I just mix those colors to make new colors.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just to, because I am sometimes lazy and then I just get the tones, so I'm like, okay, I'll just use this one, so I'm not mixing right away from the base colors. So I'm like, okay, I should do that as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, that actually, I used to work that way too. I was very impatient. When I transitioned from doing digital painting to plein air painting with traditional like gouache, I was very impatient. Like I would just lay down color without really thinking about what I'm mixing. And it wasn't until doing it a lot more that I realized that I should mix my colors first and then maybe try to capture the local color of an object, like a brown chair or like a yellow lamp or something. And then from there, I would try to build up different tones.
Yeah, and like light and reflected light, shadows, and all of that.
Oh, definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so how does your normal day look like now? Do you still have time to go paint outside, or like how many hours a day maybe you draw, or like what do you do for like motivation or relaxation? If you can take us through like a classic day.
Oh, okay. Well, I go, I have a full-time job, so I get to work around 10 and have a full day of work until 7, and then go home, make dinner. And I usually try to make time to do personal work. Just I'll make anything, even if I'm really, really tired, I'll put on a YouTube video of like a podcast of artists, like inspiring podcasts, to kind of get the flow going. And then I'll either do like master copies of famous artists like N.C. Wyeth or Line Decker. I'll just do painting studies or work on personal art. I'll work on an illustration. I'll start something and then I'll study film. So I'll try to do something where I'm learning every day. And sometimes I don't succeed. Some days are really tough where I'll try to paint or draw and nothing comes out. And then I'll feel like the day is wasted. But, and over time, I look back and I think, it's good that I did that. At least I tried. So I always try to do something. I try not to waste any time because I'm still trying to reach my goals. And I feel like I need to just work hard every single day.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's great, just because I guess we never stop learning, and just reaching the goals and setting the goal is also quite important. And so what helped you to set your goal, like thinking about it, as we discussed as well, like what type of career, and maybe do you do something like a miracle morning when you are thinking about your goals every day and like, this is what I want to reach? Or do you kind of split it into pieces, like, okay, now I'm working on improving my color or something like that?
Honestly, I just have it in I always have it in the back of my head, like just thinking, all right, I need to, because my goal, I'm currently working in TV animation, but I want to get into feature. And so I just always have that in the back of my mind. It's not as organized as I would like it. It'd be great to just focus on one thing every week or something, like what you're saying, like, maybe I could focus on color one week and focus on something else another week. But I just try to make artwork no matter what, and just hopefully something happens, Do
you have something which kind of simplifies your life every day? Some app or the favorite sketchbook or whatever it is you use kind of every day?
I think it was last year that I bought an iPad Pro. And I got the Procreate on it with the Apple Pencil, and that really simplified my life because I don't have a Cintiq, and so I just have a Wacom tablet and my MacBook Pro, and so if I need to draw on a screen, I use my iPad, and I also take it around so I could do digital plein air painting or drawing.
Yeah.
So I'm always constantly. It's like a sketchbook, a digital computerized sketchbook.
Yeah. I just still need to like start working with it, but I'm like, everyone is talking about it. That's a good inspiration. So I'm like, it's not bad. And so do you also have some thoughts about like personal style, because all of your artworks look really coherent with the color and light and styling. Do you think it's like important for young people to just start thinking about the art style, or it will come like along the way?
Oh, that's a great question. Let me begin by saying that when I was in college, I was super impatient about learning the fundamentals, that I just wanted to just like, all right, I want to make the artwork like that artist. Let me just copy that artist. And let me try to figure out my style. I was so focused on trying to find a style that I kind of overlooked the fundamentals, and I suffered a lot from it. And it was until a lot later, and even until within the last year or two, that I broke away from just focusing on style and just learning, just observing from life, and just studying from life and learning the fundamentals. Because from there, every artist already has their own style, so you'll do it even if you don't try. You already have it, and so just focusing on just fundamentals really just do that, because I don't think you should focus on style as much.
Yeah,
because
so it will come out.
Yeah, because you don't want to be a photocopy of another artist. Like, let's say I'm trying to be like Bobby Chu or something. I try to copy his style. He came up with that style for himself. He discovered it as he was developing as an artist. For me to copy him, it's kind of like I'm skipping over all the things that he learned and just getting to the final result. My work will never look like that. And the best thing for me is just to work at my own pace, just kind of like put your blinders on and just focus on just improving yourself. It's great to look at inspiration, get inspiration from, different artists, but try not to copy it as much, because I think people will notice it, and it won't feel as genuine. I think the more genuine, the more, you want your art to look genuine, and people will respond to that.
Definitely, yeah, because it's maybe good to look at it as to understand the simplification, right? If you look at the same object, then maybe how different artists approach simplification of this object, right? And then you do learn the fundamentals. So yeah, that makes sense totally what you say. And
awesome.
Let's talk about maybe the future. And I would like to know, what is your, dream scenario? As you mentioned already, that the feature film, and 5 to 10 years, if you would imagine, okay, so how does your work look like, or what are maybe the side projects you are working on?
Well, I would love to get into feature, but my ultimate goal would probably be making my own short films or making children's books, because I would just love to work on my own projects and tell my own stories.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. I'm sure that will look super cool, because now already some of your artworks, they have little stories, right? And so you are on the process of developing it already.
Yeah, actually, when I first started that project, it's called Summer of 1962. I didn't have, it was just for fun. It was just a way for me to work on stuff outside of work, a way for me to relieve stress. And it was my art director, Pascal Campion, that told me that I should do more personal work. Yeah. And at that time, I wasn't doing that much. And so he kind of challenged me to make new artwork every week. So it was just like, it wasn't supposed to be anything, It was just like, all right, let me just start this. And every week I would create something, and it became this cohesive story. And after how many, I don't know, I've done a lot now. The story kind of came organically, and now I'm really, and I think the best work comes out that way for me. Like if it's forced, all right, I'm going to start a new project, it has to be revolved around this story. I can't, it's hard for me to finish that stuff. It has to happen organically. So now, now that I've made all these pieces for my work, I want to actually develop the story, who the characters are and stuff.
Definitely, yeah. I'm looking forward to see the full story because already now it looks super cool.
Oh, thank you so much.
And so, what about like really far, far future? You know, I always ask about like the 100 years and far away. What would you like to be remembered for?
I mean, I would love to be remembered for, well, I love helping people because I, I, I struggled a lot to get to where I am now. And I've had many artists, I say many, I've had a few artists who reached out to me wanting to pursue the same career, trying to get into animation. And I love helping them. And I hope to be remembered for, to, that I was very generous, very helpful. And, as well as like, being a great storyteller, and hopefully that my work could, how do I say this? People will get inspired by my work by like delving into the environment and feeling like they could live in there. Like I hope that my work
So
could do that.
When you look at the artwork and you're like, okay, I wish I can go there.
Yeah, I mean, well, I just want my work to be able to. I want to be remembered for my stories,
Yeah.
and that my work looks genuine.
Oh,
Like
beautiful.
I mean, it'd be great. I mean, I don't think about it too much these days. I don't care about trying to be a famous artist or whatever. I just want to be a genuine artist. I want to be the best artist that I can be.
Mm-hmm.
And if people can remember that, like whether it be family or friends, and that's good enough. I don't care about like the glam of having my work on like a big wall or a mural.
Oh, so weird. Yeah, yeah. So everyone in our audience, they can reach out to you and try to ask you questions. So hopefully we'll find the time then, to answer maybe.
Yeah,
That would be super cool.
I would love to help people.
Oh, perfect. And before we finish and say goodbye, maybe you can share like last piece of guidance or key takeaway, and then we will like slowly finish.
Okay. Well, I have a quote that I wanted to say. Maybe that would kind of close everything in. So this is something I stand by, and I would say this is a quote. Everyone has to struggle through their experiences. It's those experiences that make you a better artist, not just having access. I think the struggle and the fight is a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because you need to get somewhere and you have to work for it, so it just doesn't go like quickly and fast. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And that quote's by Louis Gonzalez. He works at Pixar.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, beautiful. And yeah, thank you so much again for being here. It was so nice.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Eva.
Really, my pleasure. I really enjoyed all the stories and the tips. It was just amazing.
Thank you.
And thanks everyone for joining today, and see you in the next episode.
Awesome.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. And if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe because I post new videos every week. I would be also super happy if you let me know your thoughts in comments and give the video a thumbs up. You can find all the resources mentioned in this episode at artsideoflife.com. Just type a guest name in the search bar. There is also a couple of free artist resources ready for you. So if you want to listen to the interviews on the go too, make sure to check out the podcast at artsideoflife.com/podcast. Continue to inspire each other, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye!